Welcome to Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Jan Mabey, and I am your worship associate today. I am joined by Reverend Sian Wiltshire, our minister, Beth Syverson, our director of music ministries, Karen Magoon Pearson, who is our director of religious education for children and youth, is not with us today, so Jacques Kilshore, he's already in the classroom, is joining us and welcoming you today. We would also like to recognize that our church property rests on a Hachiman and Tongva land. As Unitarian Universalist, we have many different beliefs, but we are one loving community. We are bound together, not by a common set of rules or beliefs, but rather a covenant. A covenant is a promise that whatever our beliefs, we accept one another and encourage each other in spiritual growth. We affirm that all life has inherent value and that all existence is interconnected. We strive for justice and compassion in our deeds and relationships, and we are committed to creating a welcoming community without regard to the traits that sometimes divide people. To our roomers, we'd like to invite you to silence your cell phones. For our Zoomers, we invite you to say hello in the chat. I want to extend a special welcome to any visitors. If you are seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you will find it here. Later in the service, we will have an opportunity for you to introduce yourself if you'd like to do so. Let our service begin with the lighting of our chalice as we say our unison affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. This we affirm together.
Good morning. Please rise in body and spirit and sing our opening song with me, From Wisdom Emerging.
Our opening words this morning are actually not by me. They're by a Lutheran pastor who opened a church called All Sinners and Saints. It's one of the largest LGBTQ churches in Denver, Colorado. As a former drug addict and alcoholic, she to me embodies so much of what is best about Christianity. And since we're going to be talking about the Beatitudes from the Christian scriptures this morning, I thought it would be nice to hear from someone who represents what I think of as the best of Christianity.
Blessed are the agnostics. Blessed are they who doubt, those who aren't sure, those who can still be surprised. Blessed are those who have nothing to offer. Blessed are they for whom death is not an abstraction. Blessed are they who've buried their loved ones, for whom tears could fill an ocean. Blessed are they who've loved enough to know what loss feels like. Blessed are they who don't have the luxury of taking things for granted anymore. Blessed are they who can't fall apart because they have to keep it together for everyone else. Blessed are those who still aren't over it yet. Blessed are those who mourn. Blessed are those who no one else notices, the kids who sit alone at middle school lunch tables, the laundry guys at the hospital, the sex workers and the night shift street sweepers. Blessed are the forgotten. Blessed are the closeted. Blessed are the unemployed, the unimpressive, the underrepresented. Blessed are the wrongly accused, the ones who never catch a break, the ones for whom life is hard, for Jesus chose to surround himself with people like them. Blessed are those without documentation. Blessed are the ones without lobbyists. Blessed are those who make terrible business decisions for the sake of people. Blessed are the burned out social workers and the overworked teachers and the pro bono case takers. Blessed are the kind-hearted NFL players and the fundraising trophy wives. And blessed are the kids who step between the bullies and the weak. Blessed is everyone who has ever forgiven me when I didn't deserve it. Blessed are the merciful, for they totally get it. You are of heaven, and Jesus blesses you.
Well, if you haven't figured it out yet this month, we've been just talking about blessings, what it means to be a blessing to the world. And last week, we did one of our first in-person child dedications for years, and we blessed those children. And now we're kind of going to be doing another ritual, another ceremony of blessing, but this time it's the other end of the spectrum from child to adult. And we call this a bridging ceremony. And today, Catherine Osborne is bridging. So we do this, we do this to honor her graduation from high school that was yesterday, as a matter of fact, and in recognition now that she is now an adult of this church. So in order to do this, we're going to set things up a little bit here, but first I'd like to invite Judith Stamper up here to join me. She's going to be helping us out here. Judith was Catherine's coming-of-age mentor and has been working with as a youth advisor for years. All right, and now who here has been a youth advisor with our youth that are here? All right, youth, come on over here. So Eric, where I know Echo, there we go. Echo, come on over here. And Catherine, can you go stand with Echo? All right. Okay. So, and I'd like some of the teachers, anybody who's been a teacher in this congregation, to come stand over here. Teachers. Yeah. You've been a teacher too. All right, and if you're a young adult, I want you to come stand over here. All right. So Catherine, that's you, yes? So you've been nurtured and loved by these people that are here in this room and also those who are on Zoom. And thus this ritual honors the dedication of this religious community to provide a liberal spiritual home for our children. We recognize the love of parents and families, the commitment of teachers and advisors, and the contributions of time, money, and support of every one of the members and friends of this congregation. Without their dedication, you, Catherine, would not be standing here with us this morning. So to begin this ceremony, I invite you, Catherine, to give a hug to these people here, to say goodbye, and then come stand here in the middle. So come stand here in the middle, next to Judith. Now, Catherine, I've worked with you and really enjoyed working with you the last year when you were a worship associate up here because you were so poised and graceful. It was really amazing to see you grow into that as well. And you had this smile, which we don't get to see at the moment, but you had this smile that just lit up the room and made everybody feel so welcome. But here's the thing, I do know that Judith knows you better than I, and so she has a few words that she would like to say to the congregation. Yeah.
So Catherine, is this on?
Yeah, it's on. Go nice and
Can you
close.
hear me? Okay. I think we all feel very fortunate to have watched you grow up in this congregation from a teeny tiny little baby through to the beautiful member that you are now. And I really enjoyed getting to know you as we went through coming of age together. And I just hope that you find us as inspiring as we find you.
So congregation, this young person who's standing here before you now is an adult. I know that you've seen her, all right, as a child, but she's now an adult. So in this transition, let's give her a final blessing as she goes into becoming that adult, okay? So what I'd like you to do is, whether you're on Zoom or however, just hold out your hand to her to give her this blessing. And let us bless her together with this here. Catherine, we bless your mind with wonder and wisdom. We bless your heart that it may give love to all you meet. We bless your hands to do good work in the world. We bless your spirit to be courageous and compassionate. May you carry our love with you wherever you go. All right. So, Catherine, I know you have some words that you would like to say to the congregation, too.
Let me get them. Okay. Off? Okay.
Okay, hi, I'm Catherine Osborne. You already know that. Um, so I've written a bit of a speech for becoming an adult, though technically I turned 18 last year, but like part of the ceremony. My idea of adulthood as an 8-year-old something was smudged red lipstick, cheetah print, and taxes. That was it. That's all I had. That's all I thought adulthood was as a kid. A good part of my middle school humor set list was about how I didn't know how taxes worked. And frankly, even after the senior econ course I took this last year, as well as filling out the FAFSA, I am not confident. If you sat me down for the 1040 form, I don't know if I could finish it. But I'm beginning to think that's going to be adulthood. Not knowing things, but trying them, doing them anyways, even if you fail spectacularly. I'm young, so frankly, who knows what's going to happen the next years or so. And I think that's really the whole point of all of this, is that I don't know. Bridging from youth to adult, this great, terrible, and confusing entanglement of what was and what could be. Your guess is as good as mine when it comes to the structural integrity of this bridge. These last couple years or so, during quarantine, I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD. The best way I can describe it is that there's a very, very drunk frat boy shouting unhelpful and pleasant ideas in your head. Like he's an improviser who did not make the college improv team. It makes being a person a really, really weird experience, and I imagine it'll make full-fledged adulthood, which feels like a mythological creature in my eyes, even weirder. But I'm excited for it, even with the wiring in my brain that tells me to dread it. Whether that's because I'm a glass half full optimist or running on spiting my mental illness, I don't know. But I know I have so much more to learn. Can I adjust this a little bit? There we go. Okay. I have more friends to make, more identity crises to have, and more art to create. I've got more new things to try, and gifts to give, and birds to see, and cake to eat. I've got to try to make this world a little kinder and a little less crueler. I am honored to have grown up UU, and in this church specifically. It taught me that religion can be something kind, not something cruel. I have made friends here that I hope to keep in my life, that have shaped me to be the young woman I am today, to strive for change in our society for the better. You all have given me a community to grow up in, whether you're a friend, a family member, or a stranger today, and a space to learn how to use my voice and not fear its sound. And I thank you. It truly takes a village to raise a child. I'll end this today with a poem my best friend introduced me to, The Orange by Wendy Cope. At lunchtime, I bought a huge orange. The size of it made us all laugh. I peeled it and shared it with Robert and Dave. They got quarters and I had a half. And that orange, it made me so happy, as ordinary things often do. Just lately, the shopping, a walk in the park, this is peace and contentment. It's new. The rest of the day was quite easy. I did all the jobs on my list and enjoyed them and had some time over. I love you. I'm glad I exist.
So, Catherine, now you are invited to join the young adults over here. They now will welcome you into adulthood. Well, and as you know, when parents bring their children before the congregation, like we did last week, to be dedicated, we give the babies a rose, symbolizing their beauty and their newness of their lives. And we remove all of the thorns from the rose that might cause pain, as it's the parents' job and the community's job to protect the children from pain. But today you stand before the congregation without your parents. And we give you two a rose, but this time we have not removed the thorns. As an adult, we hope you will grasp life with all of its joys and beauty and difficulties and sadness. Yet we hope that what you have learned here over the years gives you the tools to carry on in times of trouble. This is what we also have done, some symbolic tools for you. Like these gloves, we've been given you tools as well, some of which you mentioned. Those are values to which you live your life as one of dignity and worth. The knowledge of how to think instead of what to think. The heritage of justice seeking as your conscience demands, and a beloved community in which to lift you up and help you figure out which direction you would like to go, should you ever need it. And we have another small gift for you. We hope that you will wear it in remembrance of us, and whenever you feel lost, lonely, or your soul aches, that you will remember the love of this congregation and all those who have known you. All right, everyone, let us welcome our newest adult to the congregation. Welcome, Catherine, and everyone can now return to your seats. And Catherine, you are no longer sung out to your religious education classes, but I'd like to invite Jacques up here to light the children's chalice, and then we will sing any of the children or youth out to our religious education classes.
This is one of the adult skills I've learned, to light a candle without burning myself. Very useful.
Let us sing. So, blessings, the Beatitudes. These are the most famous of blessings out there. So I thought it might be kind of fun. We're going to do something we don't normally do. We're doing what's called an exegesis. I know, big word. Exegesis is basically when we look closely at some scripture pieces from the Christian scriptures and go, what the heck is really going on here? That's a fancy word, exegesis. All right, so most of us know the Beatitudes. Most of us know the ones that are from the scriptures called Matthew. And what I'd like us to do is we're going to do what's called a close reading. Now, close reading means that when you approach these, it's like you never heard them before. And what you're doing is really paying attention to what's being said here, not what you think is being said, but just actually what is being said. It's also noticing what thoughts, images, or feelings come up, not what you think you should feel or think, okay? So it's like you're coming at them fresh and new. Now I'm gonna have them up here on the screen, and you can, if you like, just read along with me. I'm gonna read them out loud. You can read them silently if you like, or you can simply just take a deep breath, do that meditation thing we do each week, and just listen to them, whichever feels most comfortable for you. All right, so these are the Beatitudes from Matthew. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Take a few deep breaths. Was there any images or words or thoughts that stood out for you? Maybe it's been a long time since you heard them. Maybe you've never heard them before. So what did you think about these Beatitudes? Just take a moment to think about that. When you're ready, you can join Beth in singing.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be
So I have something of an unpopular opinion to give. The Beatitudes are one of the things that most Unitarian Universalists go, oh, they're so sweet, they're so nice. And here's my unpopular opinion. I've never liked them. I don't know why. And this is why when I saw that the monthly theme was going to be blessings, I'm like, all right, I'm going to find out why do the Beatitudes bother me. Because partly is that I found them kind of condescending and also a little passive. Like, when I'm feeling meek or I'm feeling poor in spirit, to be told, well, you'll be okay is kind of, I don't know, it's dismissive. I don't feel like necessarily that waiting for my reward in heaven is going to make me feel any better. The other thing that I learned also in seminary is that these Beatitudes have actually been used to oppress women and minorities. It's kind of that idea of, oh, just suffer now because your reward will be in the afterlife, right? Your reward will be in heaven. So this was told for women who were in abusive relationships in particular, anybody in an abusive relationship, as well as slaves, everyone. Your reward will be in heaven. You need to be meek. I feel like it makes martyrs out of people and justifies their suffering. Now, the thing is, we use this word blessed as well, also all the time in everyday language, right? We might even say a little sarcastically like, oh, bless her heart, right? If you sneeze, we say bless you to ward off evil. But most of the time we say, oh, I just feel so blessed, right? I feel so blessed, which we really mean is we feel really lucky, right? We feel very fortunate, right? But there are some people who actually believe out there that God has actually given them favor, because if they have wealth or riches or whatever it is, that somehow they are more worthy of God's love than anyone else. And this is the problem, a little bit of the problem that I have with the word blessed, is that it can make people feel like, well, what's wrong with me then? But that doesn't mean that it has to be that way, just noticing some of those things. The other thing about the Beatitudes was that my vision of Jesus is as a radical, this totally radical guy, someone who acted and turns things on their head, upending the normal way that we saw things. So I kind of wanted to find out, like, okay, what am I missing here about these Beatitudes? So I went on a hunt to find out. Turns out I was right. I'm so excited. So, all right. So first of all, Matthew. So first of all, one thing to understand about Matthew is his audience. So each of the Gospels had a different audience that they were speaking to. And Matthew's audience was actually Jews who were being Christianized in Israel. So he's speaking specifically to Jews and pretty powerful people in a sense, right? So people of some privilege. So, It is also part of the Sermon on the Mount, right? You all have heard that term, the Sermon on the Mount. It's where it says that Jesus went to the top of a high mountain. He gives this speech out to everyone. And it's, I always like it because if you read it, it's not that long. I mean, I'm sure he spoke more than, the 10 minutes it would take to read that, but it's a lot of do's and don'ts. And so really Matthew is kind of a summary of everything that Jesus was saying, right? So, and these Beatitudes are the ones that we know mostly from Matthew. But you might not have known is that there's actually a version of them in Luke. Okay? Now, Luke has an entirely different audience that he's speaking to. Luke is speaking to the masses. He's speaking mostly to Gentiles, and in particular to those who are oppressed. Luke is my favorite of all the Gospels because he's way radical, which is really kind of fun. So he has actually 4 Beatitudes, 4 blessings that are very different from Matthew. And he also has 4 admonitions or curses, sometimes also called the 4 woes. The other interesting thing about it is that this is from what is called the Sermon on the Plain, which is interesting, right? So he's not up above everybody, but he's down with everyone, right? So this is very Luke to point that out. It's not the Sermon on the Mount, it's the Sermon on the Plain. Matthew's much more conservative. Luke's kind of a radical, speaking to the oppressed. So again, I want to read them with you. And again, I'll read them out loud. You can read them with me, or just be in a sense of meditation. You can just take them in. And we're going to do another close reading. Again, you've never heard these before. And then we'll go into those. All right, so here we go. Then he looked up at his disciples and said, "Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you will be filled. Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. Blessed are you when people hate you, when they exclude you, revile you, and defame you on account of the Son of Man. Rejoice on that day and leap for joy, for surely your reward is great in heaven, for that is how their ancestors treated the prophets. But woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. Woe to you who are full now, for you will be hungry. Woe to you who are laughing now, for you will mourn and weep. Woe to you when all speak well of you, for that is how their ancestors treated the false prophets." Interesting, isn't it? Think about those slightly different beatitudes and woes. Does that change? Did you notice? Blessed are the poor in spirit is Matthew, whereas Luke is blessed are the poor, period. Right? Not the hungry of spirit, but the hungry. All right, let us sing.
May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole.
So I feel like what Matthew's doing when he's doing his Beatitudes is he's trying to make people feel good. He's talking to the privileged and saying, those poor people, if they're poor in spirit, if you're depressed, don't worry, it's going to be okay, right? Whereas in Luke, right, we have something very different, where it's very concrete. Those who are poor will inherit the earth. Those who are meek will inherit the earth, right? And he's doing that in part to turn the world upside down from the way that it is. And he's trying to get people to see, and he gives those woes to the privileged to say, hey, it's not always going to be this way, right? Things are going to change. Luke was definitely a radical. But here's sort of the interesting thing, is the language in which they're speaking. So I'll tell you a little joke that a professor of mine told. Now, I don't know if this actually happened to this professor. It was so long ago, I can't remember if it's an apocryphal story, it actually happened. But the way that he told it to me was that he was attending a conference on public education in the Midwest, and it was about teaching foreign languages in schools. This was my Latin professor, and there was a debate about whether or not Greek or Latin should be taught in public schools, right? So this was a heated debate back and forth, and one man finally stood up and angrily stated, "Look, if English was good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for my kids." So of course, if you're laughing, you know that of course that the scriptures were not written in English. English wasn't even around at that point. It was written, so the scriptures that we have them in Luke and Matthew that we all are translating from into English come from Koine Greek. Okay, and Koine Greek is a type of ancient Greek that is kind of, I don't want to say a dummied down, but it's like a simplified version of Greek, okay? So it was the trading language of the Mediterranean at the time. If you wanted to if you were going from, say, Israel to Rome, you wanted to speak to people, they wouldn't speak your language, so you'd speak in Koine Greek, and you can get your thoughts across. People back then were duo or trilingual, because that's what they could do. They didn't necessarily know how to write and everything. So this was kind of what they call the lingua franca of the Mediterranean, particularly by the time of the 1st and 2nd century AD, okay? But what we do know is what Jesus would have spoken is probably really not Koine Greek. He was not someone who was a trader who was going around everywhere. He was not, we don't know how educated he was, called Rabboni. He might have spoken some Greek, but what he spoke was Aramaic. And that was the language of Israel at the time. That was definitely the lingua franca there. Hebrew was there, but that was pretty much a temple language, pretty much exclusively. But Aramaic was the language of Jesus. So we're getting kind of a third-party translation, right? Jesus spoke in Aramaic. People transcribed his words somewhat later into Greek at some point, we're not entirely sure, and now we read them in English. So, one of the things I found fascinating in my research is that we actually have, now, when you think about scholarship of the scriptures, you'll notice there's a ton of manuscripts out there that are in the Koine Greek. And so when you're looking at a Bible and you'll see, or it might be this word or that word, it's because those different manuscripts may say something differently, right? Okay. So the thing that's really interesting to me is that we actually have a entire scripture, of all the Christian scriptures, all the New Testaments, is written in Aramaic. But it's never used in translation. And why do you think that is? It's called anti-Semitism. When people were starting to translate these into English, right, Aramaic was the language of the Jews at that time. So they didn't want to use a Jewish translation. And the Aramaic that we have, the one manuscript is called the, what is it called? I had it somewhere in here. It's something called like the Peshitta, something like that. But at any rate, it's what's called Syrian Aramaic. So it's actually from a little bit north of Syria, but it would be the closest to Jesus that we have. And it's dated to about the 2nd century AD, which is close to the time of the other scriptures when they were written. And as a matter of fact, most people think that if you've looked at Greek scholarship, there's looking at, there was an original testament they call Q, and then all the other testaments come off of it, and the parts that they share came from Q. People think Q was in Aramaic. So at any rate, what does this all have to do with anything? All right. So there's this scholar by the name of Neil Douglas Klotz. He wrote this book called Prayers of the Cosmos, and he's a scholar of Greek and ancient Aramaic. And he put together what he thinks is a better translation of the prayers of the cosmos. And he points out that in Aramaic, the words that have multiple meanings in Aramaic that does not translate well to Greek. So for example, he says, unlike Greek, Aramaic does not draw sharp lines between means and ends, or between an inner quality and an outer action. Both are always present. So I'll give you some specific examples. So Greek actually separates different words for mind, body, and spirit. Aramaic does not have separate words for that. And think about for us on ourselves and how much understanding, we just gave a blessing to Catherine about her mind, body, and spirit, right? In her heart, right? We separate those things. And how does that influence how we see the world? Aramaic did not have separate words for those. Neighbor has a sense in Aramaic in both the outside of us and the inside of us, so our internal selves and our external selves. The Aramaic language is also close to the earth because it came out of this agricultural people. So, for example, heaven means light and sounds shining through all creation in Aramaic. Heaven means light and sound shining through all creation. Isn't that lovely? Much better vision. Now, the word blessed in English is related actually to the word for blood, right? That's where it's a very pagan word in many ways. But the Aramaic word for the blessing in the text that we have is, it's pronounced tubwaihum. And Douglas Klotz, he translated as aligned with the one or tuned into the breath, whole and healthy. Kind of an interesting way to. So I want to do a third meditation or close reading on his translation of the Aramaic form of the Beatitudes. Now, before we do this, I'm going to do a couple of things. One, I want to tell you that his translations, to my mind, are a little clumsy because he's trying to pack a lot in there, right? So I'm going to go ahead and read them. And for the first few, I'll give you what the Matthew version is so you can see what the difference is between them. So, all right. Deep breath. So, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. That turns into tuned to the source are those who live by breathing unity. Their I can is included in God's. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Turns into blessed are those in emotional turmoil. They shall be united by love. And blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Becomes healthy are those who have softened what is rigid within. They shall receive physical vigor and strength from the universe. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Becomes blessed are those who hunger and thirst for physical justice. They shall be surrounded by what is needed to sustain their bodies. I'll read the rest in his translation. Blessed are those who from their inner wombs birth mercy. They shall feel its warm arms embrace them. Aligned with the one are those whose lives radiate from a core of love. They shall see God everywhere. Blessed are those who plant peace each season. They shall be named the children of God. Blessings to those who are dislocated from the cause of justice. Their new home is the province of the universe. Renewal when you are reproached and driven away by the clamor of evil on all sides for my sake. Then do everything extreme, including letting your ego disappear, for this is the sacred of claiming your expanded home in the universe. What do you think of those Beatitudes? Very mystical, right? Something much more expansive. Well, let us sing.
May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be
So here's what I learned in all of this scholarship around blessings and what does it mean to do blessings. So I wanted to understand that they're more than just simply a feel-good feeling. A blessing is really about reaching down deep inside, connecting to that source of all, whatever you want to call it, and then using that to do something, to make a change. This is why a lot of blessings start with, may you, right? May you do this. May you be peaceful and at ease. So really, it was never blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Rather, it was healthy are those who feel weak, for when they reach within themselves, there was a strength in them they didn't know they had. So this means my radical understanding of Jesus still holds up. Thank you very much. He wants us to do something. He wants us to connect with that inner part of ourself that sometimes feels outside of us, but's there waiting for us to tap into. Right? It's to not be victims or passively wait for God to save us in some afterlife, but wants us to understand that the holy is there within all of our troubles, wants us to do something, urges us to reach out. To put it in UU terms, being blessed is really about getting in touch with that best, most loving part of yourself and then doing something with it. So I bless you on this Juneteenth, the celebration of the emancipation of slavery, to reach within yourself and find the compassion and strength to use your power to end racism, whatever, even when you're the most weary. When you connect with the one, the great unity, the universe, or love, you will find that strength. And I bless you on this Father's Day to be a source of support, comfort, and love to your children, even when you run out of patience. You are blessed. You have the best part of you to connect to and to draw strength from. And on this day of celebrating, of bridging, I invite all of us with our minds, our hearts, and our hands that we may choose to bless this world. Amen, and let us sing.
I'm going to teach you a new chant today by a Unitarian Universalist composer, Elizabeth Norton from East Coast. It's a very easy chant, and we'll sing it many times. And I invite you to rise and body your spirit as we sing. With our minds and our hearts and our hands, may we choose to bless the world. With our minds and our hearts and our hands, may we choose to bless the world. With our minds and our hearts and our hands, may we choose to bless the world. Keep going. With our minds and our hearts and our hands, may we choose to bless the world. With our minds and our hearts and our hands, may we choose to bless the world. With our minds and our hearts and our hands, may we choose to bless the world. One more time. With our minds and our hearts and our hands, may we choose to bless the world.
Unitarian Universalist congregations are fully self-supporting, meaning that members and friends raise all funds for operating budget, ministries, and programs of the church. We are ever grateful for your gifts of time, treasure, and talent. OCUUC amplifies that spirit by sharing half of our plate with an organization that shares our values. This month, we will be sharing our plate with Sandy Hook Promise, whose mission it is to end school shootings, and create a culture change that prevents violence and other harmful acts that hurt children. You can read more about them at www.sandyhookpromise.org. There are multiple ways in which you can support the church and this organization. You can mail a check, you can go through our website, use an app called Vanco Mobile, or send a check. The choice is yours. All the information is on our website should you need it. As always, thank you for your generosity.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And now I invite you to sing our offertory response, We Gather Together, a song that our members wrote, Stacy Smith and Linda Kramer, and it puts our intentions into words and expresses our gratitude for the many gifts we share. Please sing with me. We gather together, we gather as one, for peace, love, and justice for everyone. We give from our hearts to show that we care. We can change lives with what we share.
Now, welcome to our weekly ritual that we call Joys and Sorrows. This is a time when we get to honor the important events and people in our lives, and you are invited, one and all, whether you are a member, a friend, or a visitor, to participate. So I'd like to invite Marilyn Giss up here. She's one of our pastoral care team members and our congregational nurse. She's going to assist us in lighting the candles. So the idea is that if maybe you've been holding something close to your heart, something profound, a joy, a sorrow, a concern, a hope, something that struck you at your core, if you'd like to honor this, you're invited to do so, and we will light a candle. You will light a candle. If you're a roomer, you're invited to come forward to light your candle. If you'd like to share your joy or sorrow out loud, you can write it on the slip of paper that the ushers can give you if you need one. They'll bring it on over to you. And if you're a Zoomer, you're invited to write your joy or sorrow in the chat, and then Marilyn will light a candle for you as we read those out loud. You are, of course, everyone is welcome to simply have a candle lit in silence. And once all the roomers are done lighting their candles, I'll read the joys and sorrows out loud as then Marilyn lights a candle for the Zoomers. So I invite you, as music is played, to silently offer healing or celebration as you feel called and according to your own beliefs. So I'll read those for the Zoomers first. So Linda C. says, please light a candle of joy. She says, I was and am blessed to have an absolutely amazing, loving, and compassionate father. Amen for all those amazing, loving, and compassionate fathers out there. And Peggy P., she writes, grateful for simple joys. I walked early this morning on the Huntington Beach Pier and watched the surfers. And Jim C. says, I am blessed to have living children. Amen to that. Matthew P. says, please light a candle of concern. He said, I'm so sorry that he couldn't be there in person today. Glad his husband Alex could be. Matthew says he's been sick since Friday, getting better, but it's been a rough weekend. And Mark R. says, I'd like to light a silent candle for myself and one for Kathleen as we adjust to the ongoing challenges in our lives. And here in the room, Adam Goldman, he lit a candle. I thought it was sort of funny. This is not really a joy or a sorrow, but it's a proposal, a candle of proposal. He said, I would like to have an ironic ceremony for Gen X middle-aged UUs to old UUs. Then you have to define what that is. I'm not sure. Let's see here. And Beth S. and Jan M. here, they have a candle of joy for their son Joey, who is recently sober and starts a new job today. We are very proud of him. Yay. And Marilyn G. says she has a joy. She says in gratitude, she said, joy for being able to meet with our Afghan family. Much gratitude to Jeff Ayton, who arranged a pickup truck and delivered furniture from Marilyn's house to the family's house in Anaheim. That was yesterday, so thank you, Jeff. And Dale Osborne and the whole Osborne family, of course, lit a candle of joy. She said, for the blessing that of my daughter, Catherine, we love you. And Tatiana lit a candle of hope. She says, God, give me the strength, emotional, mental, and physical, to continue helping refugees in need. Amen. And Amelia N. has a sorrow. She says, my mother, Dorothy Rousseau, in the last months before her 97th birthday, is gradually losing her ability to swallow and to communicate well and to feel comfort. We hold her in our hearts. So let us hold and love all the joys and celebrations and all the hurts and sadness, both spoken and silent. Let our joys remind us to be thankful, our concerns remind us to hope, and our sorrows remind us to connect. Let all these moments remind us that we are not alone. Please join Marilyn in a spirit of prayer.
This is a Franciscan benediction. May God bless us with discomfort at easy answers, half-truths, and superficial relationships, so that we may live from deep within our hearts. May God bless us with anger at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of God's creations, so that we may work for justice, freedom, and peace. May God bless us with tears to shed for those who suffer pain, rejection, hunger, and war, so that we may reach out our hands to comfort them and to turn their pain into joy. May God bless us with just enough foolishness to believe that we can make a difference in the world, so that we can do what others claim cannot be done, to bring justice and kindness to all our neighbors. Thank you.
Amen.
Let us join together as we extinguish the flame of our chalice and say together, we extinguish our chalice. but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you for joining us this morning. We are a congregation made up of people who all believe differently. And yet, when we gather together, whether we were in the room or on Zoom, we make up one loving community. We need not think alike to love alike. If you're a guest, a visitor, or someone who hasn't yet been known to us, I invite you to become a part of this beloved community. We encourage you to either write in the chat if you're a Zoomer, or if you're a roomer, to stand for a brief moment, tell us your name, where you are from, and Beth will bring over a microphone and hold it for you so that the Zoomers can hear your name and where you're from. I don't see we have any guests or visitors, and I don't see anything on there. Okay. If you'd like to know more about our church, including programming for our youth and children, please contact us at hello@ocuuc.org, and we will help you get connected. In addition, we invite you to sign up for our weekly email called The Blast at blast@ocuuc.org. We want everyone to feel a part of this beloved community, so please reach out and we'll help you get connected.
All right, announcements. You can see there's all sorts of fun things coming up this week, and every Sunday we have our meditation group. Now, if you haven't been there, it's a wonderful group. I invite you to be a part of that. There's a couple things that Marilyn mentioned our Afghan family, so we're eventually going to get you some pictures. We can't have them recorded because there are family that they have back in Afghanistan and everything, but they're absolutely wonderful. 9 of them, 5 of them are young adults. They're really wonderful people. We need, if anybody has out there or knows access to bikes, because we're trying to get them jobs in Anaheim, but they don't have a car yet. But if they had a bike they could get to, they could bicycle their way there. So if you have a bike that you're not using anymore and you're like, yeah, I'm never going to use this thing, let me know, and we'll figure out a way to get it up to them. So the other thing that they want, because they have both an orange tree and a grapefruit tree in their backyard right now, is a juicer. So if you have one of those things where you bought a long time ago and you never used it, these people would love to have one. So, but we're getting them all sorts of wonderful things. People have been donating all sorts of wonderful furniture and toys and things like that. So thank you all for your generosity. You will get to meet them in the coming months as well. They're just an absolutely wonderful family. We've been blown away by them. So the other thing I want to mention is that I'm going to be out of office. It's my normal summer break, which I'll be taking July off. Next week, I'm going to be at General Assembly, which is our big UU gathering. It's going to be online, so I will be around. I'll be looking at emails and things, but I won't be doing any regular meetings unless it's an emergency. And then I'll be out for the month of July. I'll be back in August 2nd. We've got planned some absolutely wonderful worship for you, so please stay tuned. You'll hear more about that. So, all right, before we sing our benediction, I want to send you with these last few words, which is, bless you. Bless you. May you know all of the strength, beauty, and love that exists inside to you, connected to you, and may you choose to use that to bless the world. Bless you. Let us sing.
Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out with indifference destroyed. Let us go out with joy one more time. Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out with indifference destroyed. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out with joy.
And by the way, if you didn't know, Katie Rates is back with us today. So also really delighted to have her here. It's awesome. We love it when former members come back, say hello. Yay. All right, let's do this.